welcome back to the Batmosphere. I'm Captain Logan, and look, it's Dan's News.
I'm Dan's News. I'm not Captain Logan.
How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm excited for more Batman talk.
Ooh, I'm getting audio issues. I can't really hear you too well.
What?
For some reason. I don't know. You're being like drowned out. Maybe it's the music.
Is that? Yeah, I just turned it off. Is it still a problem?
There we go. Now I can hear you. For some reason, the music was taking your microphone away.
Well,
that was strange. Technical difficulties, everyone.
Especially because I know you couldn't hear it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, that was weird. It sounded like you were in a tub. You're like...
God. Well, anyway.
Oh, yes. Hello. How are you doing, Cap?
I'm okay, Dan's Bane.
We should just do... I have my Bane mask somewhere. Oh, there's my Batman mask.
Bane, you know, when we do the inevitable Bane show, we should just wear Bane masks. And
I have the coat. It's all in the closet. I have the coat. I have the mask. It's all set.
Cool as if we did two different Banes. So you could do Rise's Bane, and I could like get a luchador mask and do like comic Bane. That would be killer. We should totally do that.
We should get some sort of translucent Mountain Dew tubes that go like from our helmets to the. Oh, that'd be pretty cool. You can be the Batman and Robin Bane. Bane.
Yeah. Oh, that would be great. Yeah.
Car. Whatever he says. Yeah.
Because I'm big enough to do that.
Oh yeah, that guy was huge. Oh, didn't he pass away just before that movie came out?
Yeah, just after they made it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. He was huge.
And he was a wrestler.
My goodness.
I think that was the only thing he acted in. Acted in.
Yeah, really. Was that actually? I mean, it doesn't sound like they dubbed him in, so it must have just been him talking through the mask.
Pretty sure it was, yeah. Noah O says, "Oh God, a Bane show would be amazing and unbearable at the same time," which is exactly what I'd be going for. Yeah, we should totally do that. With all the Batman cosplay that I've done, I've never done a Bane because I'm tiny.
I've done Bane.
I would have to go around saying that I'm like pre-Venom Bane.
Yeah. Oh, and then you go behind a curtain and you get some bodybuilder to like come out. That'd be pretty good. You just make some sound effects or something.
Suit, but I still have like a tiny head on like a huge body.
That'd be great.
Sounds awful, but great all at the same time. Just like what Noah just said. Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody, if you're watching live, and thanks for watching after the fact if you're doing that. It is episode 2 of Batmosphere. Last time, we talked about Alfred. We did the whole first episode on Alfred. We tried to find the most epic Batman character we could think of to really hit it out of the park on the first show. And this time we're naming the episode Batwoman, but it's not going to be an entirely Batwoman geared show, just because there's not as much of that to deal with as there is obviously Alfred's going all the way back to the 30s. And well, I mean, to be fair, like we could have, I guess, done some stuff about like the earlier Batwoman, because there are multiple versions of this character and stuff. But Eric and I somewhat recently reviewed some of the Greg Rucka stuff, and we wanted to review some of the TV show tonight, so we're not doing Batwoman comics, and definitive version for Batwoman wouldn't make a lot of sense because there's only a couple. So there's we could go through them real quick. So Bad Blood had a Batwoman who I remember the voice being okay and looked cool, but they didn't do a ton with. And then this is obviously a different version, but we had the sort of related to Batman the Animated Series Mystery of the Batwoman. Do you remember that? That film
was that in the actual animated series?
Early 2000s. It is argued whether or not it counts as even being in the continuity, and it's not very good. I've never done a rewind on it, but we did cover it.
I don't think I ever saw that.
We did cover it in the Batman commentaries that Eric and I did, Batmania.
Yeah.
And then now there's this show, and that's Batwoman on screen.
Yeah, this has had to have been the first Batwoman I've ever watched. I don't think I've ever been exposed to that storyline or anything, that character.
You should go back and read the Detective Comics run that Greg Rucka did, because it's great. That character has stuck around, and I don't love her in Rebirth. I don't love the rebooted version of it. Not to get too ahead of ourselves, but in case you're wondering if the Bruce Wayne cousin thing is comic stuff, it is now. It didn't used to be. She used to be of Jewish descent, and now she's Bruce Wayne's cousin, because we had to kind of force that in and make that. And I hate that they went with that. With that idea, that version of it in the TV show, because it just feels like a Batman version, carbon copy of Supergirl. It's like,
Yeah, no, it's a lot like that.
She's got to come
thing,
in and fill his shoes, and I mean, at least Superman's still around in that show, but like she's basically like trying to live up to him, and it's her cousin, and it's like it's the same thing again, and I kind of hate that, but we'll talk about it.
Definitely.
When we get there. Before we start getting into segments, let's discuss Kristen Ogden's $10 super chat. Thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate that. One complaint about BVS I can't stand is Affleck being a killer. Oh, now we're talking about BVS. Let's do that. It didn't bother people. It's Batman related. You guys feel free. Any super chats Batman related. It didn't bother people when Keaton dropped a bomb on Ace Chemicals. Kilmer let Two-Face fall. Bale left Roz on the train. Just saying. Okay, so this is a case-by-case thing for me. I've talked about this a million times. The issue with Batman being a killer in BVS is the fact that that the movie is inconsistent about it. I've always said that there are two Batmans in that movie. There's the one that we see in what I call the music video segments, where Snyder just wants to put cool stuff on screen, story be damned, and those are the scenes where Batman is killing people. As far as the actual story of the movie goes, he's not. Alfred thinks that he's being extreme and going too far by branding people, and if that guy's just running around willy-nilly killing people, it makes no sense that that's Alfred's reaction. So I don't know how to watch that movie without looking at it as two different movies. Until people start talking about things that are happening, they don't count as actually happening in my mind. In that movie, you see what I'm saying? There's the stuff that we're seeing happen, and there's the stuff that actually affects the story.
The movie is reveling in it too. Like, yes. I remember being kind of taken out of that first scene with him just grappling the one SUV and then throwing the SUV at another SUV and then being like, are those people dead? And then a little bit further along, the Batmobile slowly goes from like jumping off a ramp and going through the back of a different truck, and they show this guy getting demolished in slow motion. And I was like, that guy's definitely dead. And I remember just thinking like, this movie's kind of reveling in it a little bit. So it was just jarring, I think, more so than anything else for me in that moment.
He was just sloshed because he's drinking that whole movie. And, you know, it's possible that like he wasn't intending to kill anybody. He just shouldn't have been driving.
Yeah, Batman's had a little bit too much wine and he's getting behind the wheel.
So, Christian, I'm gonna argue with you a little bit in saying that I do agree that it's a problem that he's a killer in that movie, but only because we're not discussing it, right? If people are mad about that, and they were like a lot of people were upset about that just in like what they perceive as Batman. Batman's not supposed to be a killer, and I think that's fair as long as those people were not ignoring the things you're talking about with other movies where Batman's a killer, and I don't think they were. Like, going all the way back, people have complained whenever Batman is killing people willy-nilly. I imagine most of the same people that were saying that about BVS that watched the Tim Burton Batman movies were also complaining about it there. Because I've heard plenty of people go, well, Batman doesn't carry a gun, but he seems just fine dropping a bomb in Ace Chemicals and killing all these people. And then,
or even in Batman Returns,
all the people he sets on fire in Batman Returns.
Yeah, he seems gleeful about it too. He's just dropping bombs down the sewers with dudes down there. And
so I don't agree with you when you say that didn't bother people. It did. I've heard people complain about that for years, going all the way back since I was a kid. And then the whole Batman leaving Roz on the train thing. That's not a thing people ignored. That's a very polarizing discussion. I know lots of people on both sides of the aisle on that. Did it count as him killing Roz? Did it not? Yeah. I have a whole 5 or 10 minutes about that in the Batman Begins superhero rewind.
He didn't kill anybody. He just didn't save anybody. He says it out loud. That like yeah.
Thanks a lot for the super chat. That's always an interesting discussion, though. Like, when is it okay for Batman to kill, and what exactly is happening in BVS? Because ultimately, that's just part of that larger, grander, eternal, unanswerable question: what is going on in BVS? Let's go ahead right now, Dan, and do a brief segment. Talk a little bit about things we've been doing lately with Batman. It's time for Bat Life. And Dan's, I know you've been really busy with your new job and such. Have you watched or read or done anything cool Batman?
I've been going through Arkham Knight again.
Oh, have you? Cool.
I just love that game, and it's tough for me not to play one of the Arkham games every few months, and especially not that I already owned it.
Is that
so
going to be the
it's
beginning
not,
of every Batmosphere? Is just Dan
yeah,
going,
as I've been
I'm
playing
playing
one of
more
the
Arkham.
games. Yeah, that's literally all
Dan's
I've
not a
done.
Batman
Batman.
fan. He's an Arkham fan.
I do love. Oh, I mean, no, I love the animated series and the movie. No, I know. But those are definitely the Batman media that I consume the most, and man, every single time I play Arkham Knight, I kind of get more into that story every single time. And I know it's not the strongest story, and I think the Arkham Knight reveals stuff is kind of the weakest point of that. Because it's just adapting Red Under the Red Hood, and then that was kind of my biggest problem with that, and especially because I'm just now getting to the point where they're introducing the Jason Todd stuff, and it's like midway through the game, and it's really poorly integrated
in the same thing that you reveal that it's him.
Yeah,
like, you had to see that in an earlier game. If you're gonna do that, we need Jason Todd in the first or second game, I think, or at least Origins.
Sure. Yeah, and then they made such a big deal about the Arkham Knight being an original character that the DC granted them the right to make this brand new character, and it's just like, but it's not a brand new character. You're just calling it by a different name, and then it becomes Red Hood anyway. So, yeah, so I'm just getting around that part of the game, and man, that game is just so good. The PC port's kind of not the best, but it is still just amazing.
I heard it got better though. I heard it was like unplayable week 1, but then they fixed a lot of bugs and stuff.
Yeah, it just does. It's not optimized the best, but it does play way better than when it came out, for sure.
I didn't know you were even really a PC gamer. Like, I thought when you streamed from systems. Do you not?
I stream from systems as well as PC stuff. Okay. It was easier when I had a 2 PC stream setup, because I used to have one that was just running the stream and the PC that was just running the game, and typically that's kind of better for the whole thing. But my PC computer ended up crapping out at some point, so I've just been going through and doing it on well, I could be playing it on console, but because I do have it on, it was free on PlayStation during the Batman Week month, and then I also have it still on Xbox One. But PC, it just looks the best on PC. But anytime you hop in the Batmobile, it gets a little iffy.
Yeah, but then it kind of makes up for it with some of the Riddler courses, which I think are super fun.
Oh yeah. I meant more so performance-wise. I like the Bat. I'm a like everybody says they don't like the Batmobile in that game. I love the Batmobile.
I like
stuff.
the tank stuff just because it turns into a different game. That's not what I came there for.
Yeah, I get it.
It's sort of like the Mary Jane sections and the
Miles
and the Miles. Yeah, thanks. Sections in Spider-Man. But you know, it's just not what I came there for.
I hear you. But it works.
I got some comments I want to address real quick before I mention anything Batman I've been doing. That'll be short. I haven't been doing a whole lot lately. Noah in BVS, Batman is worried that Superman is putting people in danger. Meanwhile, Batman's running over criminals in the Batmobile willy-nilly. And then Robert Wilde follows that up and says, Batman in BVS is a bigger hypocrite than he's ever been, and that takes talent. Which is absolutely true. Batman is very often a walking contradiction. Anime 2019, I want Cap to do a commentary on 1979's Legends of the Superheroes starring Adam West. Yeah, I still never watched that. I think I have a copy. I mean, I know it's on DC Universe as well. I've never watched that. So that's like one of the only Adam West things in the Batsuit I've never seen. So I'll have to do that at some point.
Legends of the Superhero. Is that like the live kind of show that has the Riddler and stuff?
Yes.
And I watched some of that actually when I signed up for DC Universe. It was interesting.
I've heard it's awful. I think I've watched like the first 5 minutes of it. I know what it looks like, but I've never sat through it.
Yeah.
But they brought in, I think, some other superheroes and some other villains. So they did kind of a Legion of Doom thing.
Yeah, they're all lined up on stage, just in each seats, and they're kind of like looking at each other from the side, because it's just like straight up on the stage, and Frank Gorshin's there, and he seems like he's having a lot of fun, and they have Solomon Grundy in there too. Yeah, it's strange.
Solomon Grundy's in that?
Yeah, he's all done up in the makeup, and it's just this big guy, and he's talking like Solomon Grundy, and yeah, it feels like one of those just like variety specials. It's like the Batman holiday special, pretty much.
I don't know if I'll ever do a commentary on that, but there'll probably be a rewind on it at the very least at some
That'd
point.
be really good. I'd look forward to that.
Anime 2019 also says I should watch Batman Forever soon because it's a Halloween film, along with Batman vs. Dracula. Oh, that's true. Yeah, it takes place at Halloween. Yep.
Trick or treat. Yeah, I remember Alfred. Yeah.
And then Riddler, and then he gets hit in the face, and then Riddler turns around and goes, Trick!
And you can definitely tell that it's an Alfred stunt double that takes the hit and falls down.
Christopher Barker asks about the new Arkham Batman game that was announced. We're going to talk about that in the news section.
Yeah,
we are going to discuss that. Was that an official announcement, or is that rumor
no?
territory?
They still haven't officially confirmed anything. It's still rumor territory for that stuff.
You sound pretty sure it's probably happening though.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, we'll get to it in the news.
Mr. Roboto, $5 super chat. Cap, how long till Pennyworth, Alfred's cousin, at your service in the comics? I don't know what that means.
How long till Pennyworth, Alfred cousin, at your service in the comics? Yeah, I don't.
I thank you for the super chat, but I'm not really sure what you're saying. So
I think that's in Mr. Roboto speak.
Please elaborate if you would.
Cap, how long till Pennyworth, at your service in the comics?
It's not a sentence. I'm not sure. Anyway, do us a favor and elaborate on that so that we can answer your super chat. T-Edge1, $2 super chat. What's your opinion on the Lego version of Batwoman? When did we get a Lego version of Batwoman? I haven't played through 3, and I haven't finished the DC Villains game yet, so I'm really behind on those. So I don't think I've... If I have seen her, I don't know what she's doing in that. Unless you're talking about something in one of the movies, and I might just not be remembering. There's a lot of Lego Batman stuff, and I've only seen any of it once, so... Yeah,
you were telling me about the Lego movies that I need to check out at some point. Yeah.
Or at least I really enjoy them. There's one that I absolutely love that I think is a really good satire, the second one, which I just recently... I haven't finished it and posted it yet. I'll do it when I get to the new house, but I recently wrote a rewind on the first DC, or the first Justice League Lego game, and I went ahead and knocked that out so that I can get to the second one at some point.
Nice. You've been killing it with the rewinds recently.
Oh, thanks, man. I mean, I know it's been like a month, but it's because I'm moving. It's because I was sick and stuff. Yeah. Like, I'm going to get back to as close to weekly as I can once I get to the new place. But
definitely.
I wanted to put it on hiatus while I'm in the middle of moving. Here pretty soon, I'm not even going to have my machine here. So there's going to be a couple weeks where I won't be able to post much at all. But Mr. Roboto, what happens when Batman runs over a dog or a cat? I'm going to say
leaves a note.
He's an urban legend, so everybody just assumes that something else ran it over. No, I don't know. Maybe you can tell with like the tire treads, like that was the Batmobile.
No, it's just like Arkham Knight.
Ran over that cat.
It's just like Arkham Knight. It electrocutes the dog or cat and sends them flying off in the direction safely.
0 casualties.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have not been doing a lot of Batman stuff lately. I watched Batwoman out of curiosity, and then retroactively decided to make it the topic for this month on Batmosphere. So that would have been mine, but we're actually talking about it. And then the only other thing...
I saw Joker. You saw Joker as well. That's something we've done.
I wrote that down. I meant to ask you what you thought of that. We should talk about that a little bit. Just real briefly. I don't want to do another whole review on that, but
sure.
What was your take on that movie?
Yeah, I listened to your whole review on it. I liked it. I didn't love it.
Yeah.
I felt like some of the filmmaking and kind of plotting was kind of weak, but Joaquin was amazing. I thought he was great in it. Like performance wise, there's some really great performances in there. I thought Robert De Niro was fantastic. It was like one of the best performances I've seen from him in a long time. But I had watched King of Comedy for the first time a couple months ago, and then I had just rewatched Taxi Driver, which I've already seen years and years ago. Yeah. And so I kind of had both those movies very fresh in my mind, and it kind of felt like Todd Phillips trying to do those two movies with the Joker kind of meshed together and kind of not as well. So I don't know. I saw a lot of the things kind of coming, like the twist or whatever twists kind of came around, like didn't really, I don't know. They seemed a little obvious to me and not super well executed. I don't know. I was expecting maybe a little bit more from it. Maybe that was kind of, I had my expectations too high. But I like it. I need to watch it again. I need to go see it again. But at the same time, I left the theater going, he was a terrifying Joker. But I also kind of felt kind of flat by the end of it. I don't know.
I feel like ignorance is bliss with that movie, which is why it's going to be difficult for me now to make myself go watch those two movies, because I have never seen those. And I've heard from most everybody that's seen those, well, it's pretty derivative. And
yeah, it really is.
I feel like I enjoyed it more than I probably would have if I knew those movies. So I'm a little concerned about that.
That right after we got back, I made my fiance watch You Were Never Really Here, which was Joaquin Phoenix. It's an Amazon Prime movie. where it's such a weird companion piece to Joker. Watching them both back to back there, it's not a fun ride watching two movies like that, one after the other, because You Were Never Really Here is a very dark movie, and it's another really amazing performance from Joaquin. But yeah, and actually the kid who plays young Bruce plays young Joaquin, and You Were Never Really Here. So I was like, is that the kid who played Bruce Wayne? And then we looked it up, and it was. And so I was like, oh, he must have maybe recommended that kid for the role or something. But yeah, it's weird how those movies kind of parallel each other. And so that was an interesting experience. But yeah.
Somebody in the Captain Logan show this last week, or I think it was last week, suggested that I do a double feature and watch Joker, and then after it comes out, watch the Mr. Rogers biopic.
The one with Tom Hanks?
Yeah, and I've been thinking about that idea ever since then, and I'm totally doing that. That sounds amazing.
That actually does sound very interesting.
So I'm gonna do that. I might make a video about it. Here's what it's like watching those back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also watched, because I had never seen it, was curious about it, Walk the Line, which I talked about a little bit on the last Geekvolution After Dark. So if you're a patron, you can go listen to me talk about that a little bit. It's not a full review. I don't review on that show, but it's the only place I've talked about it. And anyway, I just bring it up because I did the same thing you did. I immediately went to Amazon Prime and watched another Joaquin Phoenix thing right after I saw the Joker, and felt weird about the parallels to Joker and his version of Johnny Cash.
Hello, I'm Arthur Fleck.
I did not care for Walk the Line. I've only ever heard good things about that, and it's heralded as one of the great biopics. And I'm a little familiar with Johnny Cash's history, and I've been reading the autobiography that movie is ostensibly based on. And I feel like they're often left field on some of the characterization of that historical figure.
Oh, interesting.
I'm not buying some of what's in that movie. I feel like they were trying so hard not to be sugar-coated that they go too far the other way, and they make him insanely unlikable. And like, he did some bad stuff, but it loses the spirit of, like, there's just not enough of a sense of why he was great, on top of the ways in which he was despicable, and at least while he was on drugs. And it feels almost like in the film version, like he coerces June Carter to marry him, and that is not what they mean to do, but that is how it comes off. And
weird.
I will just go on record to say I did not care for that movie.
I'm kind of with you. I've only heard good things. I haven't seen it. It's one that's been on my list for quite a while. I'm pretty sure I have it on Blu-ray. But it's one I've been meaning to get to, and I never got around to it.
Know your thoughts on that if you ever watch it, because
Walk the Line.
It gave me a bad first impression. Yeah. But anyway, we're off.
I like Johnny Cash. Yeah.
The only other Batman thing I've done recently is I went back, just because it's been a long time since I've seen it, and watched the Bane episode of Batman the Animated Series, because I always remembered Bane in that being kind of not great and just sort of a thug character. And I watched it again, and it's a little better than I remembered it. Like, he's characterized a lot like comic book Bane, but so much is left out that you don't really know what his motivations are, or like why his motivations are what they are. So like, he is obsessed with Batman for kind of no good reason. And he's not just a thug like he's hired to kill Batman, but it's a thing he wants to do anyway, so it comes off like he's like, well, I might as well make $5 million doing the thing I was going to do anyway. So that's good. And like, he is sufficiently menacing, and the bit at the end when Batman beats him and, you know, like takes the venom hoses out, and he's like screaming and freaking out, is burned in my brain like the end of the Clayface episode when he turns into like everybody he's turned into again. It's like that, and that scene is great.
Oh man!
But if I had been them, I would have not done Bane if I wasn't going to give it the time to flesh out the backstory of that character, because vengeance of Bane is the most important thing for Bane. His backstory really, really matters. And do the Catwoman two-parter, do the Two-Face two-parter, you gotta do a two-parter with Bane if you're gonna do Bane. And that's the problem.
For sure.
But I enjoyed it, going back to it.
Yeah, you reminded me of it, and I think back when we were doing the Bat Chat commentaries, I talked about this. That episode with Ra's al Ghul where he's coming out of the pit and he's crazy, that's burned in my brain. I remember seeing that when I was like 4 or 5 years old, and
it's all about the deranged faces in that show.
Yep.
It's just
like
sticks with you.
Yeah, it's terrifying as a kid. So yeah,
there's so many of those. All right,
Yeah.
let's go on now to the definitive version segment and talk about bat caves, Dan. We're gonna reveal now our favorite version of the Batcave. It can be on screen. It can become look. I guess it could be whatever. I'm sure a lot of stuff in this is gonna be like adaptations of things. But I decided to go for Batcave this time because again, there's not enough Batwomen to do the definitive version of Batwoman, and she has a Batcave in the show, and it's a pretty decent Batcave. And I thought the Batcave would be a decent, would make a lot of sense to talk about. So Dan, do you have a favorite Batcave?
I really like the Batman animated series. Like that was kind of my first. Well, I mean, I guess my first exposure to the Batman was the Adam West series, and that's a very unique cave in and of itself. But Batman, the animated series, it always just seemed like a place I would want to go and hang out, like type on the gigantic block keys of the Bat computer that light up when you touch them.
You won't know what any of them do because they're not labeled.
None of them have any, label. There's no letters. He's just going through it. He has all the trophies and everything. Does he have the trophies at first? It seems kind of barren in some episodes.
I think it just depends on how much they felt like animating that week. Because
yeah.
It's funny, and I thought about that one too. Eventually, we start seeing a lot of the same things in that cave, and it feels like it has a layout. The Batman Beyond cave absolutely has one layout. But when you look at the first season of Batman the Animated Series, it is a different computer episode to episode. It's a completely different screen. Sometimes it's huge, sometimes it's a little smaller. Sometimes that keyboard looks like a giant's keyboard. So yeah, like it's not always the same cave, but eventually, and especially in the new Batman adventures, we get to where you see the I believe the giant penny and the dinosaur every episode.
Dinosaur, yeah. I know that's just like that's like the iconic version of the cave for me, and I always go back to that where the like Batmobile is, the jet, and all that stuff. But I guess I kind of mix it in a little bit with the movies too, just because the movies kind of do somewhat of a similar thing once you get to the Schumacher ones. But I feel like those are all kind of somewhat derivative of maybe the animated series at that point. So
Mr. Roboto says that cave has a file cabinet.
Which the animated series one?
Or something somebody else is talking about? Because a lot of different Bat caves coming up.
That cave has file cabinet.
Is he doing that intentionally because his name is Mr. Roboto? Is that why?
Maybe that would be amazing. That would be amazing. Also, Mr. Roboto, my favorite.
Did we ever get an answer to what his super chat was about?
I think he had elaborated a little bit more, but I just still didn't get it. Pennyworth Security Company in Gotham. I think that's what it was. On
Pennyworth Security Company. Oh, okay. I'm still not sure what he's asking. Though.
Scroll up a little bit more. I'm watching the chat on your thing here. Oh, wait, scroll down.
Get the comments open, man.
Mr. Roboto, I know, but he was right there. Darn it. Yeah, no, I can scroll up and see it. Pennyworth Security Company in Gotham have to be run by Alfred Cousin because Alfred older. Because Alfred older.
Are we talking about in Batwoman? That's what we're talking about, right?
Maybe. I don't know. Alfred didn't really... Well, anyway.
I'm not sure where Alfred is in that show. I'm assuming he just went with Bruce, or maybe he's dead. I don't know.
Alfred Cousin in Batwoman? He's talking about Alfred's cousin.
Oh, okay. Alfred
Cousin?
Alfred's cousin? Because it's not like Batman and Robin where she's his cousin. She's Bruce Wayne's cousin in that show. Yeah. Somebody else said that. They're like, well,
everybody was cousins.
Somebody's like, well, at least it's not Alfred's cousin.
I'd watch the cousin series of every single character's cousin is the supporting cast.
No, that'd be fun. Yeah, like Kara's there, and there are a lot of cousins.
Yeah.
So mine is I'm trying to remember. Is Miss Martian Manhunter's cousin?
You're asking the wrong person there.
I can't remember. I think that's also a cousin, maybe. Anyway, I think my definitive cave, it's kind of a tie, and a lot of this always ends up being kind of nostalgia for me. Like it's hard to be objective about this, where it's like
for sure.
my caves growing up were the obviously I love the animated series, but were the 89 cave and the 60s Batman cave, and I have to kind of throw them both out there because they're such different animals. I love the atomic pile because it's the most absurd thing in the world. Like it's crazier even than the Ghostbusters wearing atomic backpacks. Like he's got this 3-tier atomic like vat in his bat cave, and in the very first episode he drops a woman in it and she dies. It's amazing. And then he goes, "What a way to go." It's great.
Gosh, I got to watch that series again.
Oh, you got to. It's amazing.
It's been way too long.
If I were gonna like recreate a Batcave, like for real, like actually try to build a replica of one in my house, it would be the '60s show. Partly because it would be fun to label everything. You know.
Everything.
It would be fun to
buy
have,
a
like,
label or that looks exactly like the labels that have, yeah.
Yeah, and all the blinking lights on the machines and like all that would be really fun. But I think the more serious Batcave that I still can't get away from is the '89s. I think the reason I love that cave so much is because of how high off the ground it is.
Oh, like, yeah.
I love that if you're not careful, you just drop right off and die.
Definitely.
And I think the animated series was, of course, looking really close at that cave because it also has that. And it's even a little bit more elaborate, but it's such a pretty set. I mean, they just did an amazing job with that. And I also like how simple and kind of Spartan it is, where you have an elaborate cave system, but he's got real minimal equipment and stuff in it. And I always like, the CRT monitors for Batman as opposed to more advanced technology and stuff.
And it's
such a great cave. And there's so many shadows. I love how much of it you can't see. That's
for
also
sure.
part of why I love that cave.
He has the vault that has the rack that has the one after the other of the bat suits in there. Just that bat vault closet. I remember in Batman Returns, there's that part where Alfred's coming to him with the invitation to Max Shreck's party. And they have this kind of matte painting shot where Alfred's walking onto the ledge of this like precipice that's right here, and then Batman's on this precipice right here, and Alfred's going right to the edge of this thing, and there's like hardly any stone under it. I'm like, how is that supporting like Alfred, like the weight of a man? But yeah, no, it seemed very perilous. I'm surprised Alfred never accidentally fell anywhere.
It has that Star Wars problem where it's like, why are there no railings?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Lyle wants to know if I'm going to have an atomic pile in my bat bunker. I'm not planning on having that.
He's not registered to do that.
That would be illegal. And if I just built something to look like it, it would be like, what is the point of that? You know, like, what do I put in it? Like Gatorade? Like, what would be the point of of a giant atomic pile?
That's true.
Atomic. T-Edge1, another $5 super chat. Thank you. If Batman has a cousin, why didn't he go live with them instead of Alfred raising him? Well, never thought of that.
Yeah, really. He has family. Why is he being raised by this butler man?
Because the idea was always he doesn't really have any other family. Yeah, why would he have a cousin? And like if she didn't live in Gotham, I could maybe sort of get that. Or the idea, like I guess the money is more important. I guess the house trumps family.
The money stays with Bruce. No sibling. So wait, whose was it? Would it have been Thomas or Martha's sibling?
I assumed Martha, but I don't think we're told. And I'm sure it's in Rebirth, and I haven't read the Batwoman stuff in current continuity, so I don't know that. Maybe somebody can tell us in the comments that's read some of that.
Yeah.
But that's a great question.
There have to be answers out there. I didn't even think about that either.
It really just comes off like we need some kind of excuse for why she would be there and why she would have access to Batman stuff. And I'm like, couldn't that excuse just simply be you contrive some other reason for her to be there, and then she noses around and she finds the Batcave? Like, every member of the Bat family ever? Why does she have to be directly related to him? Or have her be connected in some way, and I don't mean familially, but have her be connected in some way maybe to one of the sidekicks, like she could be, she could know Dick Grayson, or she could know Tim Drake, like, there's all kinds of ways you could get her in that room.
Yeah.
That's a good segue into our Batwoman review, so why don't we just go ahead and jump right into that. And this is so minor, but since this is where we are, I will start at this place and say, and I don't mean for this review to be just a whole bunch of questions and nitpicks, but I do want to start here because we started with Batcave, and it was a nice segue. Mm-hmm. So, 2 questions. A,
sure.
How come there is a Batcave under Wayne Enterprises? And B, is there also a Batcave under Wayne Manor, or is that the Batcave? And actually, and C, wouldn't people know about a cave in the heart of the city? Like, the reason the Batcave under Wayne Manor works is because it's outside of the city and nobody knows about it. But it was like private property. I don't think that works.
See, it was reminding me a little bit of Telltale Batman, where they had just a underground facility there, as opposed to just a straight up like cave with bats. And I guess I don't know where that cave lets out. How deep is it? Yeah, it begs a lot of questions for that show.
Robert says Cap in Rebirth, Batwoman's father was Martha Wayne's brother. Oh, it's her father. Okay. That's kind of cool.
That'll work, but never considered why Bruce didn't just go live with that family. Yeah, really. Yeah. If he has family, like,
with them?
Weird. That's kind of what happens when you start to introduce things like that, and
especially because he's a responsible dude, and he's a cop and stuff. In this, he's a military man in the comics.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, Paradox Camera asked if we recommend watching Batwoman, so he's like, really, just get on with it. Just get to the review. So why don't we just go ahead and start talking about that? Dan's got through just the pilot. He just couldn't stand it. He couldn't watch anymore. He watched just the pilot. No, he told me he didn't have time, but I think he also secretly didn't really want to watch it.
I don't know. Yeah, I only had the time to watch the first one, and I really don't know if I could have withstood 2 more episodes of it. Not that it was terrible, but
I have watched the first 3 episodes. And I'll talk a little bit about those, and if Dan doesn't care about spoilers, and it doesn't seem like he does,
you can go for it.
We'll go full spoilers on this one. So if you don't want to hear us give things away for Batwoman, go ahead and stop watching now, and maybe come back later for the end of the show, or watch the show and then come back and watch. Hate to suggest that people that are watching live leave, but if you don't want to know what happens in the show, I imagine most people are not going to care or are here because they watched it.
Just mute us and then watch the stream until we both go.
Okay, we're going to do that now.
Yeah, we have to once we're done.
At this point,
remember that. Remember the waving.
So when we get to the next segment, usually we would have done news by now, but it was such a good segue. We got to go ahead and review Batwoman, and then we'll talk about news after that. So don't let me forget. We got to talk about news.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Roboto with the $2 super chat. Bruce Wayne has many caves. It's his thing. It's his thing indeed.
Forevermore, I'm going to have a hard time not reading Mr. Robot's super chats as a robot. And I keep wanting to think that he wants us to read it like a robot. I'm thinking maybe that's the whole idea now.
It's great. Bruce Wayne has many caves. It's his thing.
It's amazing. I didn't know you could go to Dalek mode.
Exterminate. All right.
That's pretty great. Okay, well, before we move on, let's do Lucas Green super chat as well. Thanks a lot for the super chats, guys. We sure appreciate it. £10 super chat. Lucas Green, when it comes to...
10 pounds.
It's a heavy super chat. When it comes to Asylum and City, which had a better story... okay, so we're having to get away from Batwoman for a minute. Personally, I'd say Asylum... due to your issues with Protocol 10 Cap, but what about you guys? Please let me know. Love to hear both of your answers. It's City... But Asylum is a little tighter because it's a simpler story.
For sure.
I love the
it doesn't
ambition
have
of
that.
City, and I love thematically a lot of the things that game is doing. I agree with a lot of the issues that people have thrown at that game. I agree with the issues with Ra's al Ghul's involvement, and maybe that shouldn't have been the direction we went with that. But despite that, it's... City was always this big, sprawling, like, could have been a 2-year story in comics like No Man's Land thing for me, and so I have a hard time putting Asylum above it. Yeah. But again, Asylum is tighter.
Yeah, I'm kind of same way. City tops it. Asylum probably is the well, I mean, gameplay wise, City kind of trumps Asylum, but even then, Asylum is the precursor. Asylum was game changing to the entire video games industry. Like, so many games aped that combat system. They certainly refined it as they went with City, and then Origins they regressed a little bit, and then the Night came along and they even further elaborated on that. So it's like, Asylum was a game changer. So, but you're talking about story. Yeah. So story wise, yeah, it's a nice tight, kind of smaller story in the Asylum, but City is so grand, in the way it executes all that stuff. Yeah, it has little weaknesses, here and there, and some contrivances, a bit more than Asylum, but
it's
City
also
definitely
a much
tops it.
bigger story and a much more ambitious thing than Asylum. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not I'm not trying to lower standards or whatever, but like they are. It is a more complicated thing, so it's harder to not have that happen. But you know, some of those are still problems. It ain't perfect or nothing. And I've always said I think Origin, excuse me. I've always said that I think Asylum is a story that I don't know, that game convinced me that story required an interactive component in a way that City didn't. City could have been told in comics. Asylum needed me to be Batman, which is the thing I love about that game. Yeah. We'll get to Dwan's super chat after we finish the review. Let's go ahead and get back to that because I don't want to get bipolar with this and keep jumping around everywhere. So Dan.
I'm Dan.
Let's let's just get into the broad strokes of the pilot of Batwoman. Talk a little bit about what that's about and how you felt about it. That show is odd because it's set, and I only know this because I watched the crossover last year, and you probably don't even know this, but it is.
I saw her introduction. I just watched that scene back in the day.
It is set, so you know this then. It is set squarely in the Arrow universe. You'd think that it would be another dimension because it's like a stylized Gotham and that it wouldn't be in that same dimension, which is what I would have done with it, but that's not what it is. 3 episodes in, if you didn't watch that, you would have no idea this was in the same continuity as Arrow, and you would assume that it's just part of the greater multiverse like Supergirl is. And again, that's probably what they should have done with it. But I've been getting a lot of questions about that from people where it's like, I don't understand this continuity and does it ever reference... So far, 3 episodes in, it's not referenced Arrow or Flash or anything. So that's good for newcomers. Anybody can come in and watch the show, and it absolutely does not need to be a thing that connects to those shows, and I'm kind of glad that it doesn't. But the introduction of her was weird because it does. They didn't go to another universe. She's just in the Gotham that's in the same continuity as Star City. That's very strange. And what's even weirder is, with the crossover from last year, we meet her fully suited up and having already taken over Bruce Wayne's Batman stuff. So the question is, are we going to perpetually be behind weeks or months in the
Do you think
show?
they'd probably catch it up at some point? Probably, but yeah, maybe it does seem to be a bit more of a prequel than the other thing.
Isn't that weird? I think
it is strange. Like, I wasn't sure exactly how it connected up. I wasn't sure if it was. I know they had done the thing with her being introduced in that crossover thing, but I mean, just like you said, as me being not a big Arrow watcher, I only watched the first season of Arrow back in the day. I have not watched any of the other shows. It's tough for me to get into them. I haven't tried giving Flash a shot. I've heard it's only good. And it's just, at this point, there are too many shows and so many seasons, and I do not
I just
have
wanted to
that
provide
much
that
interest
context before we got rolling on this, because
for sure, but it seems like its own thing.
And the other reason I would have just set it in its own universe, because you have that luxury. I mean, Black Lightning also is in its own universe. Like, you have that luxury. You can do that and still have your cake and eat it too, because you have a multiverse and you can cross over when you want to. We've already done some Batman villains in Arrow, and if you have it set in his continuity, you're stuck with those versions. Why would you deal with that? Putting it in its own universe, you can do a different Firefly if you want to. You can do a different Ra's al Ghul if you want to. And their Ra's al Ghul, if memory serves, is dead. They can't even do that now. Like, they could do anything they wanted to if they just set it in its own universe. And again, stylistically, it doesn't look like it's in the same place. So I don't know. That's a very strange thing, and I complained about that already last year before the show even started. But now that I'm watching it, you'd think if it was going to be in the same universe, they would make that important for some reason, and that's not what they're doing. How did you feel about the pilot, Dan?
The first 10 minutes, because I'm like a story guy and a structure guy and a script guy. Like, I like a well-written script. Typically, you're kind of like, and I get it's a pilot, but we just watched the Alfred pilot, like the Pennyworth series, and I felt like that was a really strong pilot, where this one, the first 10 minutes, it's everybody introducing themselves as their relationships to other people. It's like, oh, my wife. Oh, you are my stepsister. I've been gone for 6 years. I still remember you. And it's like they're doing that with everybody. and it's so clunky with its exposition. I'm kind of more of a fan of show don't tell a lot of the time.
Yep.
And all this show does is tell with everything.
It's the house style. It's how these shows are done, and they've gotten away with it for 8 years, so they know they can.
Yeah, but it's just I don't know. And maybe it's just because I haven't been watching all these shows, but
I know if I'm going to watch these, I'm going to have to deal with exposition and dialogue and cheesy dialogue and people just coming out and stating whatever they're about to do, and
yeah. I found myself liking
one-line motivations.
Yeah. Like I just found myself liking the ideas of a lot of the things, but not liking the execution of any of it. Like I am curious to give the show more of a shot, and like that's why like talking about the later episodes, I probably have a bunch of questions for you, but because I am curious about it, but the show is like actively deterring me from wanting to get into it, just through how they tell the story and how they show everything, and then it doesn't. I mean, does the production value get any better after the pilot? I feel like it's kind of cheap looking.
No, it doesn't. But it's
a CW show, and they have 20 other shows that they're doing. So
yeah, like it's what those look like. I guess I'm just indoctrinated, right? Like I'm used to what those look like, and so I'm not expecting anything. Like it would be really silly to on and off. I haven't seen everything, but like because I can't stand it anymore. But like it would be really silly watching the CW shows on and off for 8 years and expecting just because it's a new show to be something completely different, both in production value and writing. Mm-hmm. and acting and stuff. That would be too much to ask. So my standards for this are so low. I don't want to say I will say this. I was pleasantly surprised because I expected it to be a lot worse. But like it's not good, but it's watchable, which I was kind of shocked by. Because it's reeled things back in from the CW shows, from the other CW shows, and I'm sure it will get cranked up to 11 in the cheeseball factor down the road, but like it feels a lot more like first season Arrow than anything has in a long time, and so I appreciate it for that. We're back to basics. We're back to more grounded, more street level. If they're going to continue doing a multiverse, they're going to need a show like that. So when getting rid of Arrow, I totally see why they wanted to do some kind of a Batman show. It's not even as smart as that show was, even right out the gate. And the biggest problem I have with it is its supporting cast is dull as bricks. Like everybody in Arrow's supporting cast, or at least most of them, by the third episode, I was seeing potential in. You know, like his mother was
Arrow. I liked the first season of Arrow enough.
Yeah, in her kind of manipulation plot in the background, and his Tommy Merlin as the rich kid who was a lot like Oliver, who didn't go on the island, and the contrast with that was interesting. And I just sit here and review that whole show, but like. It had a memorable supporting cast. This doesn't, and a lot of these characters feel like just carbon copies or even watered down copies of other characters and other shows they have. The biggest character problem in the show is her dad. He's so generic, and he's just Detective Lance again, but like
aren't you sad to see Doug Ray Scott because Doug Ray Scott was cast? He was cast as Wolverine. He was Wolverine in Bryan Singer's original Wolverine X-Men movie. He had been filming for a couple weeks, and then something had happened, and he was replaced with Hugh Jackman, or maybe not filming. It was either just before filming or like a week into filming. Maybe they didn't film at all. He passed up the role to be in Mission Impossible 2. Because he was the bad guy in that. And boy, howdy, was that a mistake. Didn't help his career at all, did it? Yeah. No. I like Doug Ray Scott. I think he's a fine actor, but man, he's really slumming it these days. And it was kind of sad to see. He's a Scottish actor, actually, which I thought it was funny listening to Ruby Rose and him talk to each other, because he's Scottish and she's Australian, and they're both trying their best to do American accents. They're decent enough, but there are some words every now and again that sneak on by with their accents just a little bit.
It's not the Smallville everybody's Canadian problem.
Yeah, that's the problem when you're shooting in Vancouver or wherever, some of these shows are based out of. Which, I mean, I think
we're in a tiny town in Arkansas, and everybody's saying sorry, and it's great.
Yeah, it's like Goosebumps. Every single episode, it's just a Canadian family posing as an American family. But it is. I would assume this is Vancouver as well. I mean, it just looks like generic city, which I'd imagine
they shoot all these in Vancouver. I've not looked at that in a while, so I don't know. But that's the assumption I'm making.
The CWDC group must just have this big headquarters there where they just.
They have a Hall of Justice just in the middle of Vancouver.
Meanwhile, at the DCCW headquarters. Yeah. But yeah, I wish, because he can act, and I didn't think he was terrible, but yeah, his character doesn't have much to it. He actually, at one point later in the episode, in the pilot, he's like, because he's like the head of the security firm, and they're doing this.
Because we can't just have a police department. We have to make up a group.
Well, it was the whole idea, and they exposited it at the very beginning of the episode, saying like, this is in place of Batman. Like, don't you have police? But
yeah, so this. That's a really great point. If you're going to be in place of Batman, like, how's it? Maybe they're just like, without Batman, we need more police, so we have this whole other thing that does this. But I would have everybody doing something to look intimidating. That's why Batman worked. Like,
yeah.
Paradox Camera claims that they shoot this in Chicago.
Do they? Or wow, that's surprising. That's really surprising.
If that's true, that's surprising.
But like there's a part where they're doing a screening of a movie screening downtown, and they have this big projector set up, and Doug Ray Scott, the father characters, he's walking around and he's like, I don't like that building. And I'm like, shouldn't you have scoped this out before? Isn't that your job? Like, why are you just now noticing a building over there that looks suspicious?
I have that so much with him. You didn't watch the other 2 episodes, but so he's in denial about the fact that his daughter is the bad guy, and we got to do that whole song and dance again, where you have a father who doesn't believe that the child is dead or a bad guy or something. Again, it reads a lot like Lance with Black Canary, but that thing was more believable and more understanding because A, we hadn't already done it before, and B, Sarah Lance was supposed to be dead, and so you wouldn't immediately believe, okay, she's walking around, she's still alive. With this, all signs are pointing to Alice is his daughter. It's preposterous that it even takes Kate as long as it does to stumble. Like, they treat that like a big reveal where she's like, wait a minute, that's my
at the end of the pilot, it's pretty bad.
The whole episode, why she is so obsessed with Kate and her father, and like that never occurs to you. Like, she's the same age as you, and presumably has some family resemblance from your perspective. Like, it's not like she's fully caked in makeup. If she was wearing a white makeup like she does in the comics, I'd buy it more. But she's not even really wearing a disguise. And I realized that she was like, what, 8 or 9 or something?
Yeah,
she died.
Child.
You wouldn't necessarily immediately recognize her, but like sisters that spend a lot of time together, and then like she shows back up and starts talking to you, and she knows all these personal things about you. It doesn't occur to you until the end of the episode when she's not even in the same room with you. Well, it's even dumber with him because he acts like it's an ethical problem to even consider that, where it's like, that can't be our daughter. I'm like, your job is to look into every possibility. And I just don't buy that guy does that, especially because he gave up on looking for her. And I haven't spent any amount of time with this guy, so for the first thing
he just seems stupid.
Yeah, he just seems stupid. for the first thing that I understand about this guy to be he is in denial makes him look completely incompetent and like he can't do his job. And it's dumb. And then later on, there's a line in an episode that you haven't seen yet, or probably never will. but
who knows? Maybe who knows? It's on the CW app. I'll probably end up checking them out when I'm bored.
In an episode where that's his glowing recommendation.
I'll check it out when I'm bored. Put it on the commercials, everybody.
There's I can't remember what the context was. There's a place where he's like. Because, again, he refused to look into it, and he assumed that it must not be his daughter, and there's a line where he's like, what did you expect me to do? And I'm like, your job!
He has a line in the first episode where one of his officer dudes, it was after Kate was kidnapped, and then taken to that her stepsister's like underground hospital. The guy tells him, he's like, there's no sign of her. He's like, what do you mean there's no sign of her? I'm like, he just told there's no sign of her. What else are you expecting for him to say? Like,
yeah, it's dumb. And the thing is, I didn't expect the show to be as smart as the comics or to do a lot of the stuff that that Greg Rucka did. Like, I knew that doing Alice, it's neat that they're using her, I should say, as the big bad for the season and as kind of Kate Kane's arch nemesis, because that's kind of her nemesis in the comics. In the comics, she is way more deranged and only speaks in Alice in Wonderland speak, and
she gets a little bit peppered in there. And yeah, that's the same thing where it's like, I like the idea of it, but the execution is horrible. That actress is not that great. Maybe she gets better, but she was not very good in that pilot.
I'm going to disagree with you. I like her a lot, and some of that is in comparison to.
She's acting crazy though. I can see her acting like. I don't know.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Some of this is just my familiarity with that actress and preconceptions. She was Dinah in Birds of Prey. And by the way, I still will go on record to say it was super classy casting for them to bring in a Birds of Prey alum into the show. I was so
interesting.
Happy with that.
I didn't know that.
She's awfully in that show, and her acting has come way up from that.
Okay.
So if I had not. If I had not had that experience, I may feel the same way you do, but I was like, oh, look at her. She can kind of act now.
It's not that she's terrible. It's that she's acting too hard. Like, she's really, like, she's trying too hard to me. I don't know. Like, I just.
They're also not giving her great material. So, like,
yeah,
you know, she's supposed to be like super dramatic and she's supposed to have a revenge motive, but she's also supposed to be kind of, you know, fun and bouncy, and she's got that kind of that kind of Birds of Prey Harleen Quinzel thing where it's like, it's so much fun to, you know, murder people, and I think she's playing that as well as I can expect for this network. I don't know.
For sure. It's interesting. It's an interesting idea.
I have a very for Power Rangers thing with the CW shows now, where it's like,
oh, yeah,
they're on a different level. You know, the acting's okay for Power Rangers. The acting's okay for these shows.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at now. Having said
maybe
that,
you're a little bit more tempered towards it though. It's just because maybe I'm coming in with too much expectation.
Yeah, no, I wish my standards were at the level yours are. I really do.
You've been beaten down, Cap.
I have, yeah. If they were, it would be unfair with as much of this as I've watched. Where like I want to hold it to a higher standard, especially I want to hold these shows to the standards they set in the first place. Pretty high bar compared to Smallville, but we lost it. And we've lost it for years, and it's really sad. It hurts my feelings. The big exception to that is that in a show with real writing and characters that made sense and motivations I could get behind, Ruby Rose would still be wonderful. She's carrying the show.
Yeah.
She's fantastic. She's too good for this material. I'm afraid being on a CW show for the inevitable 8 to 10 seasons this show will run, is going to hurt her acting ability. I'm afraid working with that kind of material for too long is going to mess you up as an actor. She kills it in this show with not much to work with. And I
agree with that.
Trying to figure out why I'm still watching this show. Because it's going to come up again on Sunday, and I just know Monday I'm probably going to watch it, and it's not good, and I'm not loving it, but...
Maybe it could get better. Who knows? You know, some shows take a little bit.
Some of it is Batmosphere, right? Some of it is I don't have a Batman show to watch with an actual Batman, and I still don't have that, but at least it's a show with a character in a bat suit doing Batman things, and I don't have that anywhere, and so I think that's propelling me forward. Nice. A little bit. It's nice to have that. We don't have a Batman on the big screen right now. We don't have an animated series. It's hard not to be taken in by that a little bit, even if it's not super well done. The suit looks good. I'll give it that.
Did it look like before they retrofitted it to be her? It already looked like it was for a lady when it was on the bust in the first place.
Yeah.
I'm like, that looks like a lady suit.
Like that. He's a guy.
Well, even the chest looked weird. Like I was just like, that looks like a lady suit.
Yeah, I don't know, but which makes you wonder if in the brief flashback, if it was a man wearing a suit made for a woman.
That's, I mean, they it's very darkly lit, and it's also very like low framey, wavy. Like I think it kind of was.
Rainbow Color Warrior. So this show is going to steal Batman's Rogues Gallery. I assume Kate has her own Rogues Gallery. She has Alice, and I don't know who else beyond the Greg Rucka stuff, but it is not unfair for her to fight a bunch of Batman villains because she's in Gotham and Batman's not there. Like, the premise of the show, you got to do some of that. I'm going to be disappointed if we don't do some of the big guns at some point. There was a Riddler name drop in the 3rd episode. I'm going to be disappointed if we never get to stuff like that. So
Riddler's cousin.
Yeah, right. We do. It would suck if we did that kind of thing. She only fights the minions. We do Query and Echo, but not Riddler.
Query.
So anyway, that's those are female Riddler sidekicks.
Interesting.
It would be really funny if we just did a Query and Echo, and that's all we did.
Yeah. So
let me go ahead and talk real briefly then, since you mentioned that about Tommy Elliott. He's the villain for the 3rd episode. You didn't watch that.
So they're bringing Hush into it?
Yeah, he's not good. I don't know if that's just a one-off or if he's going to come back and be a regular character, but Is
he pretending to be Bruce, or is this supposed to be like beforehand?
No, he is jealous of Bruce for being richer than him and for everything about him, and he builds a tower that goes above Wayne Tower so he can finally look down on Bruce Wayne. And he is... I mean, it's already just not that interesting. So here's the thing. I don't mind Batwoman fighting a bunch of Batman villains. I don't want Batwoman constantly fighting Bruce Wayne's enemies, right?
Yeah.
It's just not that interesting because he's not there to defend himself, and so it's very crypto-freaky kind of motivation. Like, he's upset with Bruce Wayne because everything he has is better than Tommy Elliott's, and he's jealous, and he's even jealous of the fact that he has more dead parents than him because Batman... So... There's the whole thing in the pilot that you saw about Kate hating Batman for a long time because he didn't save her parents, and then it turns out that that was all very convoluted, I thought, by the way.
Yes, it was.
He tried to save them, like he put a line around the car that was going to go over the edge, but then he had to go off and fight bad guys, and then it dropped, and like...
I think he was there to save the bus that ran into them, like the kids that were on the bus.
Yeah. So anyway, a similar thing happens with Tommy Elliott's mother, but Batman actually saves her. But then for 13 years, Tommy Elliott is like held back from his ambitions because he has to take care of his sickly mother who is messed up from the car crash, or maybe was already messed up. I'm not sure. And so he hates Bruce Wayne because he saved his mother, and he's been waiting to fight Bruce Wayne because this is so dumb. But also so CW. He was waiting to fight Bruce Wayne, but he's learned that he's Batman, right? And we do an escalation thing, and that I'm okay with. That whole thing was all right. You have the regular villain escalation thing where when she puts the Batsuit on, it causes more problems than it solves, and Tommy Elliott wouldn't have come out of the woodwork if he didn't think that Bruce Wayne came back, and everybody thinks it's Batman and not her.
Yeah.
And so he goes after her because he thinks that she's Batman, and the reason he waited all this time is because it wasn't Bruce Wayne who saved his mother, but Batman who did, so he has to be wearing a Batsuit when he goes to fight him. It's really stupid. Yeah.
Weird.
So that's so that's what that whole thing was about. And
can they bring in Maxie Zeus?
Really interesting. That'd be good. I wish they would. They should do the really dumb Batman characters.
Yeah.
Because if the show's gonna be kind of dumb anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
You might as well. Are you with me? Like, the suit's good. Now you haven't seen the full Red yet. They released that in the 3rd episode.
Yeah, I saw it on the thumbnail, and I've seen it, in practice, just in the promotional stuff and all that stuff. But yeah, I haven't seen the origin of it yet with the red wig and the whole thing. That looks better than the Batman suit.
Humpty Dumpty and Kite Man.
Bring them all in.
Don't do Professor Pig because, like, I'm not a big Professor Pig fan, but they're not going to make that nearly as disturbing as it should be, and yeah. We're gonna see watered down versions of villains we did in Gotham, where we made them too terrifying there, and in this they're gonna be too light, and there's nothing in the middle.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is the universe that gave us a really scary Clock King, but I just don't expect that kind of thing in this show.
Yeah, I was gonna joke Clock King, but then I stopped saying it because I already knew that he had come back. I haven't seen it, but
show that would be wonderful. But I've heard that that actor may have had a Me Too movement thing and might not be acting anymore. So they probably have to recast him. And that's a character you could recast. I liked him a lot, but obviously, if that happened, he shouldn't be working. But I don't know the details of that, so I won't get into that.
Sure.
But anyway, so yeah, I like the look of it. Okay, I mean, again, I agree with you that it's kind of cheap looking, but that's these shows.
Yeah,
it's kind
of. I like the visual style. Like they're filming it anamorphically, and that looks cool.
Yeah, it's got a better Batcave than you would have expected, probably, right? Like
it seems small, but other than that, it looks good. Like but it does seem like a small. I mean, again, why would there be a gigantic Batcave under Wayne Tower? Like. But it is still a little contrived.
Because at CW they don't have a budget to build a bigger Batcave. I mean,
yes, that's true.
It looks like the Batcave that I would make for Spawn Year.
Well, I remember watching it and thinking, well, maybe like I'm surprised they went as all out as they did on a pilot episode, because I'd imagine that was filmed and then or was that straight to series order sort of deal?
I don't know the answer to that, because for a while it sounded like they were kind of back and forth on whether or not it was going to get picked up, so they might have just made a pilot.
Yeah, I was surprised that it was as big as it was for a pilot.
I appreciate, this is minor, but every one of these shows has an irritating voiceover that bookends the episodes. Two things about the voiceover. First of all, three things about the voiceover. First of all, I appreciate that there's not a voiceover intro thing where like she's recapping everything with the voiceover. Secondly, I appreciate that Ruby Rose understands how to do a voiceover and make it sound as natural as she can. Most everybody that does those is terrible at them. Stephen Amell was the worst. Stephen Amell could not do the voiceover. It sounded awful. It sounded like he was in his car drinking a latte recording it. It was really bad. And Grant Gustin's not that much better at it, especially when that show gets a lot sillier. Because like once you get to the third season, it's like he knows what he's making, and when he gets to the end of the episode voiceover, he's like, "I am the Flash." I'm not exaggerating it. That's why he said, "I am the Flash."
That's pretty good.
And then the third thing is, I appreciate that there's a conceit for it. I appreciate that she's not just randomly talking to the audience.
She's writing the journal.
Writing the journal to Bruce Wayne. That's better than these have been with the voiceover thing. So I'll give them that. I wish we knew more of why Bruce Wayne left Gotham. This was the thing that made a lot of Batman fans not watch Birds of Prey back in 2002, 03. Was they threw Bruce Wayne under the bus and they said Batman just has a bad day and leaves Gotham and just can't handle it anymore. Everybody's like, that's not Batman, and they cried foul. Like, screw that, I won't watch the show. And I don't know if that was bad enough to get the show canceled, but that sounded like a lot of it with a lot of fans. It was like, I'm not watching this. Batman's not in it, and they just threw him under the bus. This does exactly the same thing. We don't really know that much about why he left, and I'm not interested in that mystery unless they cast him and they bring him back, and I don't think that's impossible because they did it with Superman and Supergirl. So
what if they brought in Alfred or something like that? Yeah. Alfred comes in and kind of, because he has to be somewhere. Do you think? I don't know.
Birds of Prey way to do it, because Alfred was a character in that show.
Oh really? Okay.
And he was great, by the way. Alfred's awesome. But
anybody I know?
He was a character actor. His name is not coming to me right away. He passed away a few years back. It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it. Anyway, I don't know if you know.
Yeah, no worries.
He was a one-off character in a couple of Star Trek episodes. Oh boy, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it.
Yeah. Ian Abercrombie.
Abercrombie, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, he was from Seinfeld. Okay. Yeah. No, I like that actor a lot too. Man, he's a perfect Alfred.
He's really good in that show. Yeah. If you've never watched that, it's worth going back to it just for that. He's pretty great.
I have it on DVD. I remember watching one of the episodes when it came out. And then
he does the intro voiceover in that show. Ooh. Yeah. They are the birds of prey. So, what else do we want to talk about with this show? We're about 10 minutes over an hour, and we got another couple segments to do.
Luke Fox, is he supposed to be Lucius's cousin or son?
No, Lucius's son. Luke Fox was Batwing in the comics, so he might eventually put on a suit.
Okay. Cool. Cool. It seemed weird that he is the one person in Wayne Tower when
No
it's
one else works there.
Yeah, that was the other thing about that show is that like there was only like two of Alice's henchmen. Like we saw a bunch in the beginning, but in the actual warehouse that she was holed up, like when Kate's going in and whatever, she's just fighting two stuntmen. That it seems to be they only have two stuntmen. So it seemed like maybe there were more because they had some of them had different masks, but it was only ever two at a time. And
it's like the show can't decide if Wayne Enterprises is like open for business or not.
I thought it was closed. It seemed closed to me because there was like there were like homeless people in front of it. I want to say there was graffiti when she's walking up to it when she rides her motorcycle up to it.
Yeah.
In the pilot. So it seemed defunct, but he was security for the building. He said like he was security, he called the cops, but he just seemed like the only person there.
Robert Wild puts in a $2 super chat. Should Batwoman be a show on DC Universe instead? Yeah, I mean, that's where I would have put it.
Yeah, really.
There or any other place where you could do a darker Batman show. And broadcast does not seem to be the place for this stuff in general, right? It's not just CW. Like, very few broadcast superhero shows in the last decade have been very good. And the ones that have get canceled look like Constantine.
Well, I'd be worried it would get canceled pretty fast on DC Universe after the Swamp Thing.
The Swamp Thing issue is isolated. That had
the expense of the show, the tank, and all that stuff.
Where they were. It's because of where they were filming it. They were given a stipend for that, and then they lost it, and they couldn't afford to keep shooting where they were shooting it, and they had to shoot it there, so they canceled it. Titans got renewed. I assume Doom Patrol got renewed.
Okay.
So it's not just that DC Universe doesn't have any viewers and they can't keep shows on. That might end up being the case down the road. Who knows? But that's not why Swamp Thing got canceled. So we can't take anything from that. But
gotcha.
Batwoman with the right crew, because I mean, DC Universe does not have the house style that CW does yet, so just because it's on DC Universe, you can't immediately say it's going to be good or bad. Titans is insane and atrocious, but Swamp Thing was apparently great. I like the pilot of Doom Patrol. I haven't watched any more of it, so we can't take anything from that. So yeah, that would have been the place to put it.
Yeah, I think it would have pushed some subscriptions. I would have been maybe interested.
Okay.
Also, maybe it would have had a better budget too, if it was on streaming as opposed to network television.
Oh, I didn't know that. Robert Wells says Ian Abercrombie voiced Palpatine in the Clone Wars. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Who did?
Ian Abercrombie, the Alfred.
Oh,
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Interesting.
We're back to just talking about Alfreds now. It's the Alfred show.
Yeah, well, speaking of Alfred, I thought it was dumb that Alfred was Bruce's password in Wayne Tower. He was just like, let me guess, it's still Alfred, and Luke is just like,
I was like, at least capitalize the L. Do something.
Yeah.
It's not quite as bad as Alfred password protecting the secret of Batman with a 3-letter password in Batman Robin, but it's close.
Wasn't Peg?
Yeah.
Well, her picture was right next to the computer, wasn't it?
Next to the computer. I want to make sure that nobody ever finds out that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and not only does it give you the secret, but it opens up everything so you can drive the Batmobile or take the plane or anything.
Look, we know security is not Alfred's concern. He programmed the Batcave to just go intruder alert when somebody breaks in, and also it start like a CGI, well, not CGI, like a computerized simulated version of him pops up to start talking with the intruder and like, would you like a bat suit? Here you go. Whoever broke in, like it's just.
Please leave the cave. You're not going to leave the cave? Okay, would you like a ding dong?
I will be down with some tea and dinner soon. There's a cot in the corner.
Dro types ALFR 3D.
Hey, Dro.
The other thing I want to mention about the show is that it's really slow and it does not think that it can get 22 episodes out of this premise, let alone more seasons. So it's stretching it as far as it can stretch it. So like, I kind of appreciate that it's attempting a more serialized format, and it's not doing one and done episodes yet. Really, like the first 3 episodes feel like a pilot, but the problem with that is that it's 3 episodes that feel like a pilot. Like they could have done about everything they did in not even a 2-hour pilot, but one episode. So I mean, I assume we're gonna start getting some one-offs after this, but it's a little unusual for these shows not to the second or third episode be kind of a one-off. We go fight a villain and then we come back. Like, Tommy Elliot was kind of a one-off villain, but Alice is still very much involved, and everybody thinks that she's doing the bad things he's doing, but it turns out they didn't surprise, I don't think, anybody with Tommy Elliot stole that gun. Like, nah, it's pretty obvious that he stole it. It's like, oh, did Alice do it? No, because you just introduced a new villain and he has to do with things, so of course he stole that gun. You didn't get anybody at the commercial break. Oh my God, he stole the gun.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that show. I don't know. They need to be able to be a bit more subtle with things, but it seems like even with a 40-something minute long episode, they're still just expositing at every chance they can, and there's nothing subtle about it. It's just really, I don't know. Maybe it is.
And I talked about this on the Captain Logan show. Here's how low my standards are. With the advertising and with the way Supergirl's been handled, I expected this to be so politically pandery. And it's not. You gotta give it that. I don't feel like, as a man, I'm asked not to tune into this show. I don't have that, so that's nice. There's a weird line here and there that Ruby Rose seems to almost cringe having to say. Beyond that, though, like, it doesn't... It might get heavy-handed down the road, but it doesn't feel like it yet. I like that she's not like, I'm better than Batman. Like, she's trying to live up to him. He knows what he's doing, and she's like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm not Batman.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that it's not yet the Supergirl thing where it's like, yeah, you know what, Superman? You go fly off and have vacation for years on another planet because I can do your job better than you can, and we don't need you here. And Superman essentially comes out and says, yes, you're better than me because you're female. And no, like, it's preposterous. Why don't we just have strong female characters? This show so far, kind of doing that, and I appreciate that, even though they sold it as, look at us, finally a female superhero on TV. You know, because they still sold it like that, but the show's not quite that, which I appreciate.
Yeah, definitely. And Ruby, like you said earlier, Ruby Rose is perfect for that role.
And again, I think that's the reason I'm still watching it.
Yeah, and she's the reason I was interested in the first place. Once they cast her, I was like, oh, perfect. She's, yeah, if you're going to pick anybody, that gets me interested.
And something about her performance also reminds me a little bit of, I can't think of names today, of the actress, again, in Birds of Prey, who played Oracle. She's something about, there's an affect, there's something about her face that reminds me of that actress. And I love her, so I feel very at home in places with this show. I think that some of it is that it's scratching that Birds of Prey itch for me, and it wasn't brilliant, but I missed that show. Yeah.
Dina Meyer.
I
still had the Wikipedia pulled up for Birds of Prey.
I love Dina Meyer. I love her so much.
She's great.
It was, you know, she got nothing to do with Star Trek Nemesis, but I like that she was there. Dina Meyer is such a perfect Oracle. I think she's, when we get to the Batgirl show, I'll just throw out right now, I will probably say Dina Meyer is my definitive Batgirl.
Yeah, I just remembered who she was in Nemesis now that you've mentioned it. She was the Romulan lady.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that.
Who shows up with the Romulan ship cavalry at the end.
I'll take that Romulan ale, Captain,
right.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh,
shake
man.
the camera. But yeah, but no, I love her, and I've never met her in person. That's an actress I really want to meet at some point. But
yeah.
Anyway, well, is that good? Can we move on now?
I think we can.
It took us
a bit to get around to it, and then we did. I think there was a super chat that we had postponed at the beginning. And also now, just in case somebody had muted that entire time.
That's gonna be, we might have to keep doing it in case they were watching football.
Oh, dun, 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 dun.
So Dewan left a $4.99 super chat. Thanks very much. Bruce had an uncle raise him in the Golden Age. Alfred did raise him until post-crisis. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know that Alfred didn't raise him in Golden Age. There's stuff that you just get really used to, even if it's only been in the last, 20 or 30 years. Eric and I talk about this all the time with comics, where there are things that will piss off your father and your grandfather that you would never think about because it just wasn't like that when you were a kid. So you have things that have been, for kids that have grown up, and because, like, you know, I'm in my mid-30s, 20-somethings now that grew up reading Batman comics are not gonna feel the same way about Jason Todd that I did, because they will know Jason Todd as Red Hood in the first place, and I didn't think that character should have ever been brought back to life. You're gonna have all these kids that are not gonna have that with Gwen Stacy because they grew up with Spider-Gwen, like things that ticked off the previous generation that we would never think about, and that is one of those things.
Yeah. Or even the Batman killing people thing. Like, Batman used to kill people all the time.
Noah O puts in a $10 super chat. Thank you so much. What do you guys think of this idea? Let's find out. Since Justice League used Danny Elfman's Batman theme, how would you feel if future Batman movies used the '89 theme instead of writing a new theme? For me, it's all about tone. That just didn't fit there and shouldn't have been there and felt kind of lazy.
Yeah. Well, his whole theory was that superheroes. I remember reading an interview with Danny Elfman, and he was talking about how, like, that's his theme is Batman's theme, and the theme should be able to translate across the different movies. And he just seemed upset that there were any other Batman themes, and so he kind of shoved his in there, and he added, you know, a nod to the Superman theme, the Richard Donner, but not Richard Donner. Star Wars composer John Williams, Superman theme. And I don't agree with that exactly, just because Michael Giacchino, the Star Trek composer, and Up, and like a lot of Disney movies and Star Wars and Jurassic Park and all that stuff. The John Williams surrogate at this point is doing the score for Matt Reeves' The Batman. And I would like to see you know, something original done for that fits what the story that you're telling. In that case,
this idea that once you have a definitive theme, you can never get away from it, I think is preposterous.
I think it was because he was composing that movie at that point. The other composers were taken off for Justice League.
You'll hear purist fans go, when you have a perfect theme, never get away from it. So I say tone matters, continuity to some degree matters. So if you made, I could be one over on it maybe. If you made a really stylistic kind of Batman 89-ish Batman movie that did that theme but kind of reorchestrated it, and it wasn't exactly that theme, but like that melody's still in there, I could kind of see it. Like, nobody complains that Batman the Animated Series used that theme, you know what I'm saying? Like you could maybe win me over on it, but the idea that you, generally speaking, when it's a different continuity, I think it needs to be accompanied by a different theme, because the flavor is different, and you confuse people when you do that. It's like, wait, is this part of the same thing? So, you know, you mentioned Giacchino with Star Trek. I was gonna bring him back up. Because he did the score for Spider-Man: Homecoming and Far From Home, and he incorporated like the old like he incorporates that into the score for that, and even Star Trek does something. Those are two totally different examples, though. So I'll mention the Spider-Man thing first. So it has its own like regular orchestral theme, and then just for fun it brings back the Spider-Man theme, and there's also a whole lot of precedent for that, where like every Spider-Man thing has used that somewhere. Like as ringtones and different things. Like, it's not the theme of the thing, it's just everybody likes that cartoon theme, so they find a way to keep working it in. If it's not the main theme, I don't think that's a problem. That's a case where I think it works okay. With Star Trek, it was not a straight up reboot. So it would be really silly to not use the original Star Trek music at all, because it's supposed to be a reboot out of original continuity, and we've always had the same music for Star Trek going all the way back. So unless it was a straight-up reboot, and even that, Star Trek's a different case. I do think it would be strange to have anything Star Trek. Well, depending on what, I mean, DS9 didn't use it, but like I think it would be weird to use those characters and not have at least the opening 4-bar thing. Like, it would be, you know. He's also creating a new score too. That's a little different. Yeah, he also created an original score for that though, which is still excellent, and it's inspired by, but you know, it's doing its own thing. Star Trek was lost. Well, yeah, that was his first. Well, not his first big thing, but one of his first big things post Lost. When you look at that opening scene with the Kelvin. I've talked about this before, but there's a bit in the score that is almost verbatim the walking up a hill music in Lost, where it's like bum ba ba da ba ba da ba da da. That's in there because he just can't get away from that melody. Mr. Roboto, $2 super chat. I missed this one. This was in the middle of a conversation we were having earlier, so I don't remember what he's referring to. He says, as Flash and Arrow is ending, it seems not to matter. I don't know what doesn't matter. I don't know what we were talking about right then. But Flash is not ending yet. Arrow is finishing this season, but I believe Flash is continuing. I've not heard that that's ending.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, so anyway, let's do a little bit of news. We're already an hour 23 in, so this won't be a long segment. We'll talk about a couple things. We'll just talk about a couple things. So, Dan,
sure.
Dan has a rumor, and then I'm going to also throw out a rumor. Go ahead, Dan.
All right, so we were talking a little bit about the Arkham franchise earlier. Warner Brothers Montreal has kind of been, one, they were teasing last month around the Batman Day stuff. They were teasing on their Twitter with kind of like it was when they were projecting the Bat logo onto the building, whichever building it was. I don't know which city that was supposed to be. But they kind of like incorporated like a glitch in there a little bit. And it seemed like they were kind of teasing something. And then they just straight out a day later put out a video of that same symbol kind of morphing into other symbols. And I'm not super familiar with the Court of Owls, but apparently it's a heavy indication that that's a Court of Owls thing. And so the big idea seems to be, and they haven't straight up come out and said it, but the big idea seems to be that they're working on a Court of Owls inspired video game set in the Arkham verse. And rumors lately have been that the title of the game is Batman Arkham Legacy, and that you will be the big rumor is you're playing as the whole Bat family sort of deal. That you'll be switching between different characters, whether it's I don't know, Batgirl and Robin.
It's still not multiplayer?
I have no idea. The rumors are based on this guy who just tweeted saying Batman Arkham Legacy, and then also said the rumors of playing a playable Bat family seem to be legit. Like that's what this is all based off of. So I don't know if that person is really that big of an insider or really knows what's going on. A lot of these rumors sometimes you got to take with a huge grain of salt because it's people just wanting to get attention online. And but it seems like an interesting idea. My biggest worry is that I hope Warner Brothers Montreal, who also were the developers behind Batman Arkham Origins and the Wii U port of Batman Arkham City, the armored edition or whatever it was with the shock gloves, which they had shock glove mechanics, which they ported into their game Arkham Origins with the shocker gloves.
Which is really silly, because it's like if you had those all that time, why would you put them away and then not use them the whole time?
Yeah. There was a lot of weird prequelitis things with Arkham Origins with the glue grenade as opposed to the ice grenade and whatever. But I'm just hoping that they have been able to work out the kinks within the Rocksteady engine that they were working within before, and hopefully they're putting a little bit more time into this than it seemed that they did for Arkham Origins. I mean, they've had a long turnaround time. Who knows what happened between them scrapping that other game, the one that seemed to be taking place in a kind of further along, like almost Batman Beyond-y kind of future Gotham post Arkham that we had seen some concept art that had been dumped. So what are your thoughts, Cap?
Well, first of all, I'll use that to segue into Mr. Roboto's $2 super chat, where he asked if we could get a Batman Beyond Arkham game, and this is clearly not that, and that it looks like that was never going to actually happen. Maybe they were working on that for a little bit, and then they decided not to. So it doesn't sound like that's likely at this point. But also, that segues into my rumor, which is that Warner's might be, again, this is just a rumor, and take this with a huge grain of salt, because I really doubt this is happening. But the rumor is that Warner's is considering a live-action Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton now, which would be the only way in which I would care about that project, or that I would get really excited about that project. Because for years, people have said, like, live-action Batman Beyond, and I just, like, Batman Beyond is such a stylistic, great animated thing that, like, I gotta see what it looks like before I can get excited about live action. There's been this weird fan obsession ever since that show ended. So, like, for 20 years now, almost 20 years now, like, we really need to see Batman Beyond on the big screen. I don't necessarily. I love more Batman Beyond stuff, but, like, do something like Into the Spider-Verse and do something animated. Like, I'd be much more excited about that.
It'd be so good. Yeah.
But if he comes back and plays Bruce Wayne as
it's too good.
Future, it's too good. And somebody in this article that I'm reading from Bounding Into Comics, which again I've never heard of that, so take all this with a grain of salt. And it just had sources say. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
The person that wrote this article suggested that if it's Michael Keaton, that movie easily makes $1 billion, and I agree with that wholeheartedly.
I remember Kevin Smith, like, years ago when they had announced the Justice League movie. He was like, there's no way this movie doesn't make $1 billion at the box office. And then that movie came out. And at this point, Joker has grossed more than Justice League has, which, I mean, that movie was just so horribly mishandled.
Well, he says silly things.
Yeah, he does. But he's not wrong. Like, Batman and Superman being in a movie together would have been a big deal had they not botched that universe so much.
The other thing to keep in mind about this rumor is that there was also rumor about a Batman Beyond movie back in February that was debunked. So this is probably nothing, but I love that idea too much to not mention it. As far as the Montreal game, I'm not disinterested in that. I would love to see other characters attempted, some other things in that style from DC, but I'm fine with more Batman if it's good. It's just Montreal needs to not rush it like they did last time. Now, I also, it's also a different kind of thing because they gave it to another company to try to kind of get one out every year, so they were forced to rush it. If I'm understanding the history of that right, so this time they probably get some more time. But, like, if Rocksteady was making it, I wouldn't have any reason to be concerned. It's Montreal, so I have more concern than I would.
For sure, but they've had a long time, so who knows? I don't know.
And if they've been working on it this whole time, then
yeah, for sure. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see how it comes around. I'm hoping we're getting some more confirmation soon.
So, casting news for the Batman. Tons of stuff since we last spoke on Batmosphere. First of all, this was one I didn't know about until today. Jeffrey Wright is supposed to play Commissioner Gordon. Yeah,
that was the first one to come out.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah. Jeffrey Wright was. I haven't seen anything 100% official. It said he was like in talks a while back, just like they were talking about the Jonah Hill in talks.
Apparently, Hollywood Reporter reported it. So
it's 100%. Yeah, no, Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon. Jeffrey Wright was in Source Code and the newer Bond movies. He plays Felix Leiter in that.
In the few things I've seen him in, I think he's great casting.
Yes, he is an excellent actor, and he's been one that's kind of popped up throughout the years over and over and over again, and I always think he's such a solid actor.
It's sad, of course, that
J.K. Simmons?
Yeah, that he didn't get to do more with that.
He didn't get to do anything.
He was really good casting too, but by the time we got that casting, it already looked like Justice League was a thing of the past, so I didn't expect to ever see him again, even when he was cast in the first place. Robert Pattinson has been talking about getting his Batman voice from Dafoe. Have you heard this? That, like,
in the Lighthouse movie,
he's trying to pattern it off of Dafoe.
So he was saying, Dafoe's voice in the Lighthouse movie, which I haven't. I saw the trailer for that, but I haven't seen it in a while. But he was talking about how Batman always sounded like a pirate to him, like a pirate is what he used specifically. So I have no idea if he was joking or if he
everything except for Jeffrey Wright. Everything about this sounds counterintuitive and fascinating, and I'm withholding judgment on every single thing until I see that movie. We get all this Zoe Kravitz is Catwoman. We haven't brought that up yet, but some people cried foul, and I was like, why?
What's wrong with Zoe Kravitz? Not that I haven't seen her in too much. She was in First Class.
How is anyone immediately reacting to that with the Robert Pattinson thing? It's like, you should expect everything to be not what you thought you'd get for this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't immediately have a problem with that casting choice. I don't know.
Neither do I. It depends on, again, that's kind of a wait and see sort of deal. I haven't seen her in too much.
What kind of Catwoman we're talking about. Like, a lot of people have been saying, oh, look how many Batman villains. And I'm like, well, yes, they're talking about a lot of different Batman villains, but you can't assume Catwoman's a villain. You can never assume Catwoman's a villain.
Yeah. I hope they kind of do the play both sides Catwoman. That's generally my favorite kind of Catwoman.
So have you heard who is campaigning to be Penguin?
Campaigning to be Penguin?
Yes.
No.
Someone is campaigning to be Penguin because they haven't revealed who's playing it yet.
Josh Gad was teasing it endlessly for the longest time.
Oh, really?
That was a long time ago. But eventually he was like, guys, I'm not doing it. I was just goofing around.
As soon as Jonah Hill backed out, there is, and we don't know who he would have played if he had gotten the role. Like, a lot of people assumed Penguin, and have we even confirmed for sure that Penguin's in this movie? I'll be surprised if he's not because of how big the villain cast is supposed to be.
Well, I think it was confirmed that he was, yeah, a lot of people assumed Penguin, but it was confirmed that he was up for Riddler.
Is that what it was confirmed? Okay.
Yes,
okay.
And then apparently, from what I had read, he was asking for more. He was asking for like $10 million for the role, and Robert Pattinson's only getting paid $5 million to be Batman.
So that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and so he was out, and then immediately after, Paul Dano was in as Riddler.
Yeah, which of course we also have to mention, and he seems like good casting. I've not seen him in anything, but from what I've heard.
Oh, really? You've seen Looper? He was in Looper.
Okay, but it's been so long, I don't remember him in that movie.
He was the guy who was slowly losing his fingers because, like, it was they carved into his hand, go to this place to whatever, because he was. I
saw that one time. I don't remember the performance, is what I'm saying. Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
So the person who is campaigning to be Penguin, and I want this so bad, I think it's such a good idea, is Jason Alexander. What a good idea! Like, yeah, I want that. That's such a good idea.
I think it is a good idea. Maybe him. Well, yeah. Do you think with this cast though that they would go with Jason Alexander as Penguin? Like, it seems like they're going younger with a lot of they're skewing way younger with a lot of the characters and villains.
He could be an established Penguin. He could be a mayor Penguin. There's a lot of reasons to do an older Penguin.
Yeah, and I haven't seen Jason Alexander in a bit.
I think it would be weird if every single Batman villain was the same age as Batman. You've got to have some older ones. You have to have some established people. Just because Batman creates villains does not mean that he creates every villain. And we do a lot of pre-established Penguin. Usually by the time Batman shows up, and you can do this any way you want to, but usually we've seen younger Penguins, we've seen elderly Penguins. There's a lot of different ways to do this. Maybe not elderly, but middle-aged. We've seen a lot of... like, there's a lot of continuities where by the time Bruce Wayne dons the costume, Penguin already has a big crime base, right? Like, he's already, running drugs and stuff. Like, and again, you could do the Batman Year One thing, or not Year One, excuse me, the Batman Earth One thing, and you can have a mere Penguin, which is what I would like to see.
Yeah,
but yeah,
no, that's not a bad pick. I don't know if that would be something that would be very likely. That's all I'm thinking.
I don't think it's likely. I don't think it'll happen.
Not a bad idea, though.
And apparently, Seth Rogen almost got Penguin.
Yeah, apparently he was auditioning or something, or like he was kind of up for it, sort of deal. Which is, I guess, it was linked in with the whole Jonah Hill thing.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I do remember him in that. Robert Wilde says Paul Dano was in Prisoners with Hugh Jackman, which was a movie I liked.
Oh yeah.
A lot.
He was the saddest character in that movie.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great casting.
He's great. Have you seen There Will Be Blood? No, you would have remembered him in that. Yeah. He was also in the Daniel Radcliffe movie. Where Daniel Radcliffe was a corpse and he was stuck on an island with him. It was really.
Is that the horror movie?
Swiss Army Man.
Like okay. I thought that was like a big house movie.
Yeah, no, Swiss Army Man. No, Paul Dano is really great. I think that's a really great pick. I was thinking like if they were going for like a Two-Face and like kind of skewing older, kind of like George Costanza, I think John Hamm would be a really good Two-Face.
Oh yeah, sure.
Like, I know he was up for Batman a while back, but I was thinking about it. And I was like, who could play Two-Face? And I've been watching Mad Men again recently. So
I haven't watched that in a long time. I never got past the third season, but I haven't watched that in a long time.
And that show's really great. I mean, if you liked what you were watching up to the third season, then yeah, it has a really strong.
It was an excellent show. I haven't seen it in probably 7 or 8 years, but it was.
Yeah.
It was an
excellent it's a good
show.
one. You should get around to it at some point.
All right, let's move on now finally to the Bat Chat segment. If there's anything you guys really want us to talk about that we haven't yet, we've gotten a lot of questions tonight about other peripheral things, Batman related. This is one of those shows where like it's such a. I mean, Batman is is broad enough to do this, but it's niche enough that, like, as many things as we've talked about already the first 2 episodes, I'm like, I'm really worried that by 7 or 8, we're repeating ourselves. But
Yeah.
if you have questions for the Bat Chat segment, go ahead and throw those out now. I'm going to throw out a question, as I always do, and we've only had 2 episodes, but I will always do this. And but Dan might sometimes too. But tonight's question is mine again, for just like last time. And my question is, are you ever compelled by Bruce Wayne love interest? Do you like it when Batman is dating someone, or do you find yourself rolling your eyes going, well, I know where this is going to go. She's going to die, or he's going to refuse to tell her his secret, and she's going to leave, or she's going to find it out and freak out and leave, or or like a Mask of the Phantasm, he's going to be like, yeah, I just can't, or like, you know, he's gonna be like, I can't be with you, and he's gonna leave me. I know in that she left, but like it never would have worked out between them. You know, you had the Omen with the bats coming out of the cave at like the most inopportune moment. Where it's like, parents, please be okay with me not being Batman so I can date this girl, and then like, oh, he's like, oh, I guess not. But anyway, so like, how do you feel about Batman love interest? Because that is a difficulty I have sometimes. Whenever Bruce Wayne starts dating someone, I'm like, what? How this is gonna work out?
Yeah, well, that's when you were talking about like the secret identity thing, it just reminds me of how it should have ended. Like Batman just always going to every single woman, going, "Do you want to know my secret identity?" Because he just seems to tell everybody. Any woman he ever meets, he typically tells, or finds out. They just end up walking in.
You know, if you want to spend your life with someone, you got to tell them everything. Like,
yeah. I mean, I like Vicky Vale in '89. I like Talia in the. I haven't seen too much with Talia with like comic book wise, but I like her in Arkham City. Like that stuff really plays pretty well because it feels like they have that history already. And a lot of those games are kind of playing off of the history of Batman in the first place, and they don't really kind of like the Jason Todd stuff in Arkham Knight. They don't take a lot of the steps to explain it really. You just kind of have to know it almost.
I think love interests are a little bit easier in one and done things though. Like it's harder in ongoing comic where it's like, you know, Batman's trying to settle down with someone, but just like killing off a character, you know, it's not gonna stick. You know, like even the Catwoman thing. Like, spoiler alert for Tom King's Batman, but when the marriage thing didn't actually end up happening, when that didn't stick, like it surprised me in the moment because of the audacity of advertising it as the wedding issue and then not having a wedding in it. But beyond that, I wasn't that surprised by it. I find the on-again, off-again thing with Catwoman sometimes really interesting and sometimes kind of irritating. Like, I like the idea that maybe they're soulmates, but they can't ever quite be together. But, like, beyond that, I don't know. Like, typically, I don't get excited about Batman just dating some chick.
Yeah. Like in Batman and Robin when he's just dating a supermodel and she's just like, Bruce. That's all she says in that entire movie.
Yeah,
but like right. But like that's like the kind of trying to hit that note of like, oh, can I be Batman forever? Can I have a relationship? Can I be happy? That kind of thing, like you said, with just screaming into the cave about his parents. And it made me think of, when you mentioned that about the bats flying out, do we have, like in Batwoman, they do that thing where the bats come around and they're horribly animated, but the bats come around and fly around her. And do we have to do that with everybody who's Batman or Bat whatever? Yes. Like, you know, they did it with in Dark Knight Rises.
It's all dramatic and yes.
The bats have chosen you. Anyway.
No, you're right. It's silly because it feels elemental and it's goofy.
It worked in Batman Begins.
I think there's more stuff we could talk about with it. I think this is too big of a topic to bring up right now when other people are wanting to talk about other things. But
sure.
This is something I wanted to drop real quick because I'm always of two minds about it. Like Rachel in the Dark Knight trilogy is an okay idea at first, but then it becomes kind of too typical in TV when the whole thing is like when you stop being Batman, you can you know we can be together, and I never cared for that whole thing.
Yeah. Indeed.
Noah O. Which Batman actor was a good Batman but a bad Bruce Wayne? A classic question, or vice versa.
Good. Well, I mean, question. I think we all know that Clooney was a decent Bruce Wayne, but not that great of a Batman.
Well, he didn't like Batman. He didn't want it to be dark.
Yeah.
I agree with people that said this is the typical thing with the earlier Batman movies that people tend to say. I agree with this, that Val Kilmer is kind of the definitive Batman, like in the suit, and that Michael Keaton looks okay in the suit, but was maybe kind of a better Bruce Wayne, like a offbeat Bruce Wayne, but maybe better out of the suit. I don't know if you agree with that. I think even to this day, Val Kilmer is the man who has looked best in the Batsuit.
His lips are a little. He has very plump lips. I would say that's my only thing about Val Kilmer.
This is so superficial.
It's Batman in a suit. Like,
no, I know.
All you have is superficiality.
How superficial this is, yeah.
I mean, you have to have a strong jaw. I think Keaton didn't have the strongest jaw. And Val Kilmer had the lips. I think, but maybe with a different suit, though. If the suit had been slightly different designed, maybe it would have looked a little bit better. But no, even then, it's still he does look great. I mean, just picture him and smiling. That shot of him smiling after he visits what's her name?
Yeah, that's not his fault. No, that's not his fault. He was directed to do that.
I know. But his lips are very. He has very kissable lips.
I think the last two. You heard it here first, folks. The last two Batmans have been equally good Batmans and Bruce Waynes, I would say. I think Affleck is great in both roles. I think Christian Bale is great in both roles, minus the silly voice.
Mixed in with like a lion growl or something like that. I remember them talking about how they like modulated his voice and stuff like that.
Let's see. Dwan, what is your ultimate portrayal of Batman? It's between animated in Frank Miller, in some Adam West, in Christian Bale for me. I don't know what the rest of that meant.
What's your definitive? All of these things.
Okay, so we will probably do the definitive Batman episode. I think we should do a Batmosphere at some point on Batman. I think that would be great. So I don't know if I want to come right out and reveal that yet. Although that's just a tough question for me, because it's like
we all know the answer is Lego Batman.
It's a 4 or 5 way tie for me. Honestly, like the portrayal of Batman, because it's got different Batmans. Like, I love Adam West, but I'm not going to compare him to anybody else. And I guess mine. I'll just go out and say this because it could change later. If you put a gun to my head, it's Christian Bale, but only because I think Batman Begins is the best Batman movie. So like, just kind of by default, I still love that so much. It's hard not to say that version, because some of it is the performance. It's not just the writing and directing, you know.
For sure. Yeah, and there's like you said, there's so many different flavors of Batman. It could be different on any day of the week.
What's so great about the character?
Yeah. Very stretchable.
Different ways to do that. Tyler Parker, $2 super chat. Thoughts on the Telltale Batman games? I've talked about this at length, but I don't know if you've ever talked about those. So have you played those?
Well, yes, I definitely played those. Any video game version of Batman, I've typically played a little bit of it at the very least. Like the Lego Batmans, I played a little bit of, but not all the way through.
Super Nintendo Batman Forever.
Yes, no, I did play a little bit of that. I haven't beaten it, but I just remember. Was that the one that had the like live action characters cut out? And yes, I do remember that game.
That's using the Mortal Kombat engine for a side scroller. Yes.
Yeah, it was hilarious looking because you could just and just keep punching. Telltale. Well, I was thinking that when you were talking about the love interest stuff, because I was thinking of Catwoman in Telltale Batman, and how well she was done there. But
that's a
that was
version. I love her in that.
Yeah, and here's hoping. I mean, I'm pretty sure Telltale's going to be doing a 3rd season of that. Now that they're back. And bought up by a different company. So I'm glad that story's gonna be able to continue. I think those games are great. I love the idea of the Waynes being bad, like mobsters essentially, and tied in with the mob, and Bruce kind of like I like that it's just so different. And Telltale has done a really great job at kind of putting their stamp on a different franchise between The Walking Dead. Their version of The Walking Dead is my favorite version of The Walking Dead. I love
what I played of that. I got to do more. I played the first chapter of the first game, and it's really good. But
the first season, even like all those seasons of that game they're fantastic. That last season rivaled the first season for me, and I had never cried playing it.
Pretty bad, but
The final season's really good. The second season is still really solid, but the third season meanders a little bit, and the final season is the fourth season, and that one kind of brings it back full circle. But
I found that first chapter gripping, and I got to play more of it. But I need time off from it after the first chapter because it freaked me out, and then like I need to come back to it at some point. But that's rough, man.
The voice of Lee in that game is Lucius in Telltale Batman and Arkham Knight Batman and one of the animated, like he's the voice of Lucius and everything nowadays. Dave Fennoy, I've met him a couple times. He's so great. But the Telltale Walking Dead, that first season, I've never cried at playing a video game ever in my life, and that final episode makes me bawl my eyes out.
And I've heard from people about The Last of Us. You didn't even have it with that.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I know. But I had played Telltale Walking Dead before I played Last of Us because it came out, I think, before it, or I didn't play it until later. No, the opening of that game makes me cry in The Last of Us.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, that's all I played is the opening, but that bothered me. Yeah.
I get teared up every single time I play the beginning of that game. So yeah, I had played that in 2013, and I played Walking Dead in 2012 when it came out. I have my Clementine hat somewhere. They sent it to me. Oh, cool. But yeah, the Telltale Batman is so great, so great. I love what they do with the Joker in that. There's so many good things.
The most original Joker in like a decade or more.
Yeah, the Harley Joker relationship is.
I love her in that. She's one of the best Harleys. Absolutely.
They just flip everything around in that series, and it works so well. It's so strange.
I also still gotta get a Beer Drink shirt made. I really want that.
Drink.
Do you remember Beer Drink?
Not off the top of my head, but
it's one of my favorite things in the Arkham games is they have this intentionally generic beer that you see an advertisement for every time you go to a bar. It's called Beer Drink. I love it. A lot of people are asking about Gotham. Link Myers, $2 super chat. I just finished Gotham. Very entertaining garbage. Yeah, that's how I would describe the parts of that I like. Everybody's asking if I've, or a few people are asking if I've finished that. I have not. Paradox Camera, do you like the final season of Gotham? Because the whole season is an adaptation of No Man's Land. I've not done that because I lost interest middle of 4 and I've not gone back to it. I get so many requests for that. I'll probably come back and do and finish it and do a spoiler cast on at least 5 at some point, but I've just not done it yet. So anyway, I don't have anything else to say about that right now. But
yeah.
Well, guys, I got to get going. I've got something else I got to do pretty soon, and we're already almost at 2 hours. But we got a lot done on this show.
Oh, yeah.
Really nice turnout. Thanks, everybody, for being here. And we went long because there were so many questions and super chats, and we appreciate you guys. I hope you're enjoying the show. We certainly are. We're going to continue trying to do this once a month. And, Dan, do we want to decide right now what our main topic for next time is, or do we want to keep it? Do we want to decide later and keep it a secret? Because we had a plan for this that changed to Batwoman, so we could do the thing you wanted to do for this show, or we could talk about it later. What do you think?
What did I say that we should do?
You wanted to do a Penguin show.
No, you said Penguin.
No, I wanted to. No, I didn't. I wouldn't have done that. You said Penguin.
I said Penguin. Oh, yeah. No, I did say I did suggest Penguin, and then I remember thinking, oh, we should probably do Joker since Joker came out.
Yeah.
But then
we could go ahead and do the Joker show next time. Since we
I'm down for Joker. Joker sounds great.
Okay, cool. Well, we're not going to say for sure that's what we're doing, but tentatively, probably a Joker show next time. And if you guys, especially if we decide to do the Joker, if you guys have anything you'd really like to see us review for that show, let us know. That will likely be the first show where we don't review something brand new. This show will not always be brand new Batman stuff. We will sometimes go back and we'll do comics and maybe episodes of TV shows and other things. We'll always have a review segment. It could be a one-off episode of a thing. It could be a pilot for something like we've been doing. It could be a movie. It could be all kinds of different things. But yeah, so I'd like to hear from you guys and know what you'd really like to see us do, because there's 1,000,001 things we could do for the Joker.
For sure. Sounds good.
So let's plan on that for now, and tentatively, it could change, but that's the plan right now. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed the Batmosphere. Dan's, so nice of you to be here. I sure appreciate you, buddy. This was
this is super fun. I mean, you and I could talk for hours and hours and hours about anything.
We could, but especially Batman.
Yes.
All right, we will see you guys next time on The Batmosphere. I was Captain Logan, and this was...
And I'm Dance News.
Hey, folks.
Bye.